Do you want to grow your audience and increase your sales? Well, you need more people to know who you are. And that is visibility. And to get more visibility for your creative business, you're going to need a strategy for making that happen. So let's talk about how. Hello and welcome to Brand Your Passion, the show that helps you turn the thing you love the most into something that people know and love you for. I'm your host, Holly Arnett, the brand coach for creatives, and I'm on a mission to make the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. If you're ready to get more eyes on your work, more dollars in your pocket, and more creativity in your life, you're in the right place. Welcome. Let's brand your passion. Before we jump into the episode, I want to tell you all about the Brand Strategy Kit for creators. This plug-and-play brand strategy template will help you craft a go-to guide for achieving all of your creative goals. It's got a 50-plus page Canva template, an example brand strategy, and a bonus one-page strategy, all designed to help you clarify your brand, craft a plan, and kick some ass. With everything from your vision to your audience, brand voice, visual direction, the visibility strategy we're going to be talking about today, and so much more included, you're going to have everything you need to start sussing out your own brand strategy. So head to shop.makerandmoxie.com or click the link in the show notes to check it out and grab the Brand Strategy Kit for creators today. Now let's start the episode. So let's talk about brand visibility. Basically, brand visibility is all about how many people have seen your brand or how many people your brand has gotten in front of. And when you're focusing on brand visibility, you are focusing on growing your audience. This is something that's going to help you if you are wanting more opportunities, if you're trying to pitch sponsors or partners, if you are wanting to increase your sales, or if you are launching something new. It's really all about showing up and being seen, and the goal is to make it impossible for people not to know who you are. And there is a difference between visibility and awareness and recognition and perception. These are things you might have heard intertwined together before: brand visibility, brand awareness, brand recognition, brand perception, but they are different and there is nuances to each one. So as I've said, brand visibility is all about how many people your brand has gotten in front of. But just because your brand has gotten in front of those people doesn't mean that they then know who you are, that they actually paid attention, and that they remember who you are. That is where brand awareness comes in. Brand awareness is how many people are aware of and familiar with your brand. And then recognition is how many people then recognize and remember your brand if they see it again or they hear your brand name again. And then brand perception is then what they think of or they feel or they say about your brand and how your brand is perceived. So there's a difference in how we kind of explain these different parts of your brand. And today we are going to be talking about just how to get your brand seen, because that is step number one, is just to get your brand in front of more people and more of the right people. And then once you have done that and you have a strategy for that, you can then focus on how to then capture those people's attention and make sure that they are aware of you. And then you can kind of engage them and get them to buy from you and engage with your content and all of that good stuff that then comes after that. So I just wanted to clear that up so that you know what we're talking about. We're all on the same page and we can make sure that everything is clear going forward. So we're talking about visibility, but how do you measure that? Because we want to make sure that before you start this process, you have an idea of what your brand visibility is like now. And then once you've started doing this process, you can continue to measure your brand visibility to see how it's working or maybe not working, or how you can improve on certain things to continue to improve your brand visibility. So there are a few ways you can do this. You can firstly use search to have a look at how people are seeing your brand through search. So through Google or Pinterest, You can see how many impressions you are getting on things like Pinterest or through Google, and see how many people are searching for your name or how many times your brand name is coming up under certain search terms. That will give you an indication of how many times your brand is being seen when people are searching for common search topics. You can also do the same on social media. So not necessarily in terms of search, but you can just see in general what your social media impressions are. And that will tell you how many people have seen your brand over a certain time period. And then once you are also doing some strategic projects to increase your brand visibility, you can do some calculations to estimate your visibility from those things. So say, for example, you're doing a collaboration with a brand, or you are going to be a guest on a podcast, or you have a guest on your podcast or something. You can estimate what your visibility might be from that collaboration based on what their audience size is or what their engagement is with their audience and things like that. So there's a few ways you can sort of measure visibility. It's definitely not an exact science. It definitely is kind of more of an estimation than something that you'll get exact numbers from. But if you can get that estimation and use that similar estimation going forward, that will give you some kind of idea of where you are sitting right now. So now let's talk about some ways that you can or could increase your visibility. There are obviously lots of different ways, and we're going to talk about how you can figure out what ways are best for you. But first, let's just talk about a bunch of different ideas, and then we'll talk about how to decide which is best for you. Firstly, there's obviously social media. You can use social media in a bunch of different ways. Obviously, probably the ways you've currently been using them, creating things like Instagram Reels or TikTok, using popular trending sounds, using trends that are really popular, doing collaborations, doing competitions. These are really easy, well-known ways that social media can be a great way for you to grow and increase your visibility. You can also make use of sponsorships. You can sponsor people as a brand, as a business. So you could get influencers to promote your content or your work or your art. You could also be a content creator or an influencer for brands, and that will get your work and your content in front of that brand's audience too. Either way that you approach that can be a great way to get your work in front of either different types of audiences. Different types of collaborations too. You can either collaborate with other artists or other creators on different art projects, on different types of content, being a guest on someone's podcast or having them as a guest on your YouTube channel or different things like that. Collaborations or partnerships are a great way to increase your visibility and get your brand in front of a new audience. Referral programs are also a great option. There are a lot of different ways you can have referral programs, but you can have referral programs for your products or for your services, but you could also have referral programs for your email newsletter and things like that. There are programs set up that allow you to do that, like Sparkloop is a program that allows you to have a referral program for your email newsletter where people get rewards for a certain amount of people that they refer to your email newsletter. So that's really awesome and a cool way to get your content and your newsletter or your products or services in front of new people. Speaking of email, you can also do things like ConvertKit's Creator Network, where they have systems in place to allow you to recommend and be recommended by other creators. So when somebody signs up to another creator's email newsletter, a pop-up comes up and they recommend different email newsletters, hopefully including yours, and then they get the opportunity to also subscribe to your email newsletter. So that's a really great way to get in front of new people who are already interested in subscribing to newsletters and learning about things that are similar to things that you talk about. So joining the Creator Network or something like that is a really, really smart way to do that. Another way that you can increase your visibility is by creating really shareable content. There are certain types of content that are just inherently a lot more shareable. If you look on social media and you look at kind of the most viral or most commonly shared or most quote unquote successful content, you will see a lot of threads between them. For example, on Instagram, I would say a lot of common things that come up would be carousels, quotes, infographics, like things like that are really commonly shareable content that people want to reshare on their Instagram stories or send to their friends or all that kind of thing. So if you want to try something like that, that can be a way to play around with seeing if that helps to increase your visibility. You can also do really cool things with your products themselves and the way that you package and promote them in order to increase visibility by promoting people sharing your products. If you package your products in a really awesome way to make that unboxing experience really special, maybe sometimes including freebies in things or including a card that says, please share the things that you have received on social media, even just that can really be just that little push that somebody needs to remind them, oh, sharing this on social media is something that I can do really quickly and easy, but it actually really helps a small business. So thinking about the unboxing experience really carefully can be something that will increase your visibility, because then your customers are going to share that with their audience, and then hopefully that will encourage people to check you out, or they'll just get your brand in front of those people. Another way that you could increase your visibility is to try and engage in some public relations or PR work that can include doing that yourself. So you could write a press release or reach out to editors of magazines or publications or newspapers or online blogs, whatever publications you think are relevant for you and your audience, and seeing if you can get published. Another great way to increase your visibility is through search engine optimization. A lot of people are obviously still using Google or other search engines to find answers or solutions or to shop and to search for things. So it's a really smart way to get your brand in front of those people as an option or as a solution if you can do that. So you can look into how you can increase your search engine optimization so that you can come up in those results and get in front of more people more often as they are searching. And then obviously, last but not least, you can also try advertising. That can be done digitally. So that can be in terms of Facebook advertising or Google ads or Pinterest ads or things like that, but can also be print ads, or you could wrap your car, or you could have signage or put flyers up or posters up around town or anything like that. Don't just limit yourself to digital advertising. Obviously, that can be very powerful and will get your brand in front of a whole group of new people and can be very effective if done well. But obviously, also print and in-person advertising can be really effective also. So that's a whole bunch of different ideas. Obviously, I don't recommend jumping in and trying to do all of them all at once. That's not going to be very effective. What I do recommend is maybe picking one or two to try at a time and seeing what is going to work and then iterating and expanding from there. Now let's talk about how to figure out which ones you should choose and how to come up with a strategy that's going to work for you. First things first is to figure out where is the best place that's going to work for you and for your audience. So you need to understand your audience before you can do anything else. You need to understand where your audience is spending their time. Are they spending their time online? If so, where? Is it on social media? Which social medias? Blogs are they reading? What publications are they reading? What kind of people are they following? What influencers are they engaging with? What news publications do they follow? What events do they go to in person? What traditional media are they reading? What print things do they pay attention to? Do they read Frankie magazine? Do they read the paper or not? You need to understand your ideal audience and what they're paying attention to, because there is no point in putting an ad in the paper or trying to get published in a magazine if your ideal audience are not going to read them or not going to see them. What you want to do is figure out, okay, my ideal audience is this type of person. I know for a fact that almost every month they are picking up the latest Frankie magazine and they read it cover to cover and they freaking love it. I know that getting myself into Frankie magazine is going to be 100% worth it. So it makes sense for me to put in so much energy to finding out who the editor is and reaching out to them and doing what I can to get into that magazine. So you need to understand your audience first and foremost to figure out where is going to be the most effective use of your time and your effort to use as your strategy to get in front of your ideal audience. You then want to figure out how you want to show up in these places. You need to have a strategy for the rest of your brand in terms of what is your brand voice, what is your personality, what are your values, what is your mission, how are you going to show up and stand out and appeal to your audience when you do show up in that place. Obviously, we've talked about visibility, and this is all about getting in front of these people, but then when you do get there, how are you going to make sure that they are going to see what you're doing and want to read more about it or want to learn more about it and want to follow you on social media or want to then check out your website or want to learn more or want to buy your work after that? So you want to make sure you continue to figure out more about your brand strategy and the rest of your brand personality and your vision and your mission and everything else to make sure that you know how you want to show up in those places. You also want to figure out how often you are going to need to show up in order for people to recognize and remember you. On average, it takes 7 times for someone to remember a brand. So you are going to need to be showing up regularly, showing up in a magazine 1 time, and counting on that and banking on that one opportunity is probably not going to be a very good strategy, especially because you can't guarantee that your audience is going to see that. Even if you know that they do read that magazine and they love it and they probably will read it, there's no way you can 100% guarantee that that means that they're going to then follow you and go to your website and buy your stuff, right? So you want to safeguard yourself a little bit and give yourself a bunch more options and make sure that you are getting in front of your people in enough ways, enough times to ensure that they really know who you are and they can't forget who you are. You need to have a strategy that includes, okay, I'm going to get in these 7 magazines, or I'm going to get in these 2 magazines, and I'm going to go on these 3 podcasts, and I'm going to post on Instagram these 10 times, or whatever it is. But you need to have a strategy about how many times you're going to be showing up. How often is it I want to be on 1 podcast a month or in 1 magazine every quarter, or I want to do a newsletter swap with someone every month. Whatever it is, you need to set up or figure out a strategy for how often you are going to be showing up. When you've done this process, you should have a strategy that looks something like this. It should include, this is where I'm going to be showing up in a way that makes sense for me and my audience. This is what it's going to look like, or how I'm going to show up, the kind of things I'm going to say, or how it's going to feel, and what vision and values and personality I'm going to be representing in those places. And these are the different ways I'm going to be doing that in these different amount of times so that I know that I have enough options to be able to get in front of my audience, enough times that I can make sure that they definitely know who I am. So that is all about brand visibility and how to create a strategy for how you can get more eyes on your creative business and grow your audience and increase your sales. If you have any questions or you start doing this process, as always, please let me know. You can get in touch with me on Instagram, just DM me or comment on my posts at MakeHerMoxie, and I would love to have a chat with you. Otherwise, I will see you in next week's episode, and don't forget to check out the brand strategy kit for creators at shop.makerandmoxie.com, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion and choosing to spend time with me learning all about branding, business, and all things creativity. You can find more episodes just like this one at makerandmoxie.com/podcast. If you like this one, you can tap that subscribe or follow button so that you're notified about each and every new episode. And if you've got a spare second, please leave a review on iTunes or wherever it is that you're listening to this podcast, because I would absolutely 100% love to hear from you. If there were some helpful goodies in this episode for you, it would mean the world to me as well if you could screenshot that podcast player right now, hop on over to Instagram or Twitter, and tag us at Maker and Moxie. By subscribing, reviewing, and sharing, you're helping reach more creators just like you, so that together we can make the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. We can't achieve this mission without you, so your support means the absolute world. I will talk to you in the next episode, but until then, keep creating.